welcome to the Habituation Room, which has now just become a British tabloid where we're going to talk shit about Meghan Markle the whole time. So hold on to your butts. Or something like that. Oh, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to talk in this accent the whole night. It's going to go between New Zealand and Cockney meets all of the Monty Python characters. Okay, it's done. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Let's do that over. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Habituation Room podcast. I've got Meghan Markle and Prince Harry on the brain, and I've never wanted to watch something I don't give a shit about so much. Oh my God. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Are you liking the stream? Are you sharing the stream? Are you clicking the whistle? Are you rubbing your stomach and patting your head and doing all the things you're supposed to be doing right now? We've got such a good show for you. Once again, we're not going to talk about the royals, but at some point, no, we're talking about the stimulus bill. Also just as salacious. Also very sexy and just a crazy soap opera. All right. Bernie Sanders, the Meghan Markle of the Senate. Okay. Don't get that twisted. We are going to be joined by Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report. So excited to have her on. And of course, my good friend Nato Green is back. So thank you all once again for joining us. We are also going to be talking about, which new cartoon character or which old cartoon characters from circa when television was invented, will the right decide is their new martyr and want to bring back and, make as a solid point of their platform come 2024, other than Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. We're going to be doing that. So make sure you guys have your answers too. And once again, this show is free. It's commercial free if you don't watch on YouTube or Twitch or look, sometimes it's a commercial free podcast. And that is why we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Habituation Room. Thank you so much for anyone and everyone who's given $1 a month. That's all I need. $1, $5, $20. Hey, if you can, that's so great. That helps us out and everyone who works on this show. Also, it helps me communicate with you. If there's any bonus episodes, you get first access to those. If we're doing an AMA tomorrow on Monday for people who have given $20 and above. So if you're a patron at $20, send me your questions. And if you have tipped $20 or more, send me a question. I'll answer it on the live tomorrow. Also, merch is coming. If you're a patron, the merch is coming. I promise. I don't know when or what it's going to be. I'm thinking about a whole underwear line, with just the Habituation Room printed right on the ass. If you're lucky, just lots of lace right by the butthole area. Okay. It's already weird and I like it. Okay. And just to thank all the patrons who've joined in this week. It's been a good week. Hey, mama had a good week. Maybe that's because Nato and I talked to Naomi Klein and it was good. And you guys are awesome. So this is our thank you portion of the show. Wait. No. Start. Wait. Whoa. Okay. Thank you to Tony G, DeWeer, Henry L, John and Ari, Jeff S, John D, Joshua E, Ian F, Jeremiah M, Jason B, Vern V, and Lars. And a special shout out to Max Eulenbeck and Helen Morgan, good friends. One of them is my ex. Also, thank you to Big Tippers, Socorro C, Randy L, and you can tip this show at TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. And thank you to all the people on Twitch who are tier 1. You're wonderful. Give me those emotes in the emote area. I think that's what it's called. Oh, shoot. I'm done with the song. Okay, let's just dance it out, guys. Everybody dance it out. Thank you. And once again, even if you want a tip, that's lovely. I appreciate it. But I encourage you to go to Patreon. It really helps me communicate with you. And again, just more direct communication. And that's what we're here to do. So I see all these comments. Thank you. Keep them coming. And without further ado, I'm like, I've got to bitch about something. Okay, here's what I'm going to bitch about. Let's do it real quick bitch. Let me know if I'm crazy. Let me know if I'm not. Dining out is overrated. All right. It's been about a year of quarantine. And I recently took a local trip out of LA. And I think that's when I sort of, in my brain, I'm like, well, there's no germ when you're away from home. Like the virus isn't out of your neighborhood. In your brain, you just sort of justify that. Also, you're on a vacation. So you're like, let me go out. So I did do some outdoor dining. I've tried to be very careful, always at the N95, lots of hand sani. And, there's nothing worse than risking your life for a mediocre veggie burger. Just not necessary. And let me just say, with an Instant Pot, with endless amounts of recipes available online, just cook. It's easy. Just cook at home. I've been getting into it way more. And takeout. I'm not mad at takeout, but there's just nothing sadder than maybe dying for, soggy, untoasted veggie burger buns. And that's what I'm bitching about. That I think we should support local restaurants. I think, gonna be honest with you, every single restaurant, 2 good items. That's it. I've worked in restaurants. Everybody knows. 2 good items. Like, good, I mean, top of the this is why I'm here items. Dos. You know what I'm saying? Controversial opinion. I think it's great. But look, restaurants waste a fuck ton of food. We know that we are healthier and we save more money and we save our bodies and we save the earth if we eat at home, if we cook. I'm all on that Michael Pollan shit. So I'm just going to say dining in or out, especially during a pandemic, overrated. I'm bitching about that. Also, the royal family is racist. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna bring in my my oft co-host. Oft as in I killed him. He's a comedian and labor organizer who just yesterday turned 1 year older. Yay! You can watch his series Laughter Against the Machine on Means TV. His comedy albums, The Whiteness Album and The Nato Green Party, are available on Bandcamp and everywhere you get your albums. Please welcome Nato Green.
Hey, everybody. Cheers. L'chaim. So thank you, Francesca and producer Becca, for sending me absinthe. Like I was in my pajamas and on my birthday at home alone, and a man turned up at my door and handed me a bottle of absinthe and walked away with a note that said, "Love, Francesca and Becca." So thanks. Now I've got absinthe drinks. We're in business.
Oh, I want half of that bottle. Thanks.
Come over for cocktails 11 times. So... yeah, it's good.
Nato,
that's what happens when you're a man of my age. Is everyone gets you like alcohol related presents for your birthday? I got like
at least
4.
It's not a cigar or like a shawl. Like just like, here you go, Grandpa. Stay warm. When people start getting you things to stay warm, you're old. Like that's when you're like, oh God, I am one leg in the casket.
Right. Pull the plug.
Just stay warm. Nato Green, there's so much has happened this week. It feels like it's been forever since I've seen you.
Do I get to say what I'm bitching about?
So I'm about to ask you.
Yeah.
What are you bitching about, friend?
Well, Francesca, I'll tell you. So the continuing adventures of Nato Green. If people listened to our chat with Naomi Klein, I was bitching about fighting with people on the internet.
Right.
And this week I'm bitching about not fighting with people on the internet, because look, I'm on the internet, and I say some things, and occasionally people come at me, and sometimes I fight with them, sometimes they're Nazis, and I don't fight with them because then they're going to start researching me and figure out where my children go to school, and then we're going to get killed. So I don't do that when it's Nazis, but other people sometimes I'll engage. So this week I have a new article out. In the website Hyperallergic. It's an arts website. And the article is called "How the Contradictions of Socialism Make Cuban Art Great." It gets perilously close to actual journalism for your friend Nato Green, where I interviewed people, Cuban artists in Cuba, wrote about it, had some jokes, had some ideas, and my wife is an anthropologist, and like in the world of comedy and in the world of union organizing, I have like people act like I'm some, like elbow patch intellectual type, but around actual intellectuals, I am the most like dumb, like blue collar, like shit talker and not real intellectual person. So my wife posted my article to a closed Facebook group of anthropologists who specialize in Cuba. And then they spent 3 days talking shit about me.
Oh
and
my God.
Never have I been more upset that I couldn't fight with people on the internet. Like I'm mad. It's a closed Facebook group, and I'm following the comments on her page, and she's not getting into it, but it's just like a bunch of academic snobs.
Whoa. She won't defend your honor. That's not because partnership. Okay.
Well,
that's why you get a partner, so they can defend you on Twitter. Ask Matt Lieb.
Yeah, right. If Matt Lieb wants to defend my honor on Twitter, I'll give him the names. So, but it's all, it's like and the way that people are talking shit about me it's not anything of substance. It's just like a lot of like, well, clearly this person doesn't have a PhD, so why does he get to have opinions? Blah, 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 blah. And,
they have to justify their degree, of course.
Yeah, it's credentialism. It's just academic snobbery, and like I know, I don't have a graduate degree. I only have a bachelor's degree, but I know enough academics that I know how to really get under their skin, and I love it. It's the same way that like with parents, like when I had when my kids were born, and people were like, "Oh, you have girls. Wait till they're teenagers. You're in for it." And then I would say, "Oh, I'm not worried about having teenage girls because I'm a good parent." And then I would watch people go like blind with rage for 10 seconds until they realized I was bullshitting. And the people who laughed in my face immediately are the ones who became lifelong friends. And that's how I feel about academics too, is like, I just love like needling academics and getting under their skin and being like, "Oh, how many people read your fucking dissertation, dickhead?" Like your irrelevant esoteric bullshit,
What floor of the Indiana library? I don't know.
Right.
Indiana State University. Is that a university? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it is.
This is how much I know about higher ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
one library.
Because of my union work, I deal with higher ed a lot, and everyone is so into like the culture of academic discourse and debate. And then I show up and I'm like, "You all know that this is all bullshit. Anyway, give us a raise." You know what I mean? So I just like, I feel deprived.
So there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do, and I have internet flame war blue balls right now. Like I want to fight with strangers on the internet, and I can't, and I feel deprived, and I'm sad about it. And
no, your wife needs to go to bat. It's not dumb. She needs to go to bat for you. She exposed you and put the article out there, which is very good, by the way, and we will link to it in this description.
Thank you.
It's super nuanced. I was like, oh my God, a nuanced take from Nato Green.
Yeah. Who knew?
But I want to bring in, before we get a little too far down this rabbit hole, because we can talk about NATO online all day long. Our next guest.
And I didn't say anything about the article, which is about Cuba and art. So take a look at that.
Well, you did say that. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Just drink your absinthe and shut the fuck up. Okay.
All right. Sorry, ma'am.
All right. I'm so happy to have our next guest for the whole show, for the whole GD kit and caboodle D. She's the host, the co-host of The Majority Report with Sam Cedar, streaming daily on YouTube at 12 Eastern and the Peacock app on the Choice channel at 5 p.m. Eastern. Please welcome Emma Vigeland.
Oh, hello. Welcome to my studio apartment. How you doing?
Dude, that looks amazing. Is that where the boiler is in that door behind you? Or what is that? The coal?
Yeah, that's where I shovel coal.
You shovel coal?
The machinery is.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have, we're in New York City, and so it's still not an alternating current system. What was the one that Edison came up with? It's a DC system, right? We're still behind the times here in Brooklyn. How are you guys?
We're, not watching Meghan Markle and Oprah. So we're, a solid 6.
Why are you
Yeah.
erasing the white man in this story?
Well, is Tesla
Meghan
not a white
and
man? Oh, sorry.
Prince
I thought I
Harry?
was going back to, yes, Prince Harry is included. But I thought I didn't care about that story until now everyone I know and their mother is talking about it on the internet.
It's true. I think it's a giant grift to stay relevant. This is all incepted. They knew they planned it all out. They chose Meghan as a wife. They knew that they were going to move back. They were going to move to the States. Anyway.
Very Scientology, choosing wives.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about grifts.
They're all Thetans, lots of engrams, or I don't know, whatever they're called, alien demons.
I believe her. And I just think she's like more savvy than any of the wives or spouses to have entered. She knows the media. And so
hey.
And Nato, look, I obliged and I got myself a drink, as you said. Yeah, I mean, I don't have absinthe because it's not
your birthday.
18th century, clubs, or club.
You're not a 40-year-old man. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I didn't want to, wake up dead tomorrow, so I went with a glass of red wine. But this is a large glass.
Yeah, I do.
Emma Vigeland, what are you bitching about today? Before we get into the week's news.
Can it be week's news related? Because I didn't think you were going to go with a restaurant thing. One, I would say, if you're dining indoors, what is wrong with you?
It can be week's news related for sure.
I have friends that like willingly dine indoors, and one of them has had COVID and one of them has the vaccine, but I don't understand the impulse, especially where you guys are in LA, where it's very easy to dine outdoors. I've dined outdoors in 20-degree weather. I did it like 2 or 3 times. One was 20 degrees outside, and then the one time I did it was 34 degrees. And it was one so I could see my cousin for the first time in a year. And then and she's vaccinated because she's a healthcare worker. And the other time was just seeing my friend who works from home the entire time. But like, it was a snowstorm the next day. And like, I see people in different southern parts of the country who actually want to dine indoors. Please, you guys can do the whole kit and caboodle outdoors.
Yes.
It's not that hard.
Also, in the winter, like, I just want to say, we all know that you're just like gushing flu. Like, your nose is constant. My nose constantly runs in cold weather. You're always just like, and indoors, you just don't need it. You don't need all that.
Nope. And the air
together.
And the air is so dry. I mean, I learned this from my co-host on the Majority Report, Sam, who would admit that he's very COVID conscious in a beautifully neurotic way.
Is that your way of saying that Sam is a Jew?
I that's how he would characterize himself. I'm not allowed to say that, Nato. Yeah. So
I'm allowed to say that.
There. Well, yes, but I digress because now my Palestine commentary is going to be taken up to the nth degree in terms of people. But he says that the reason that it actually transmits more frequently in the winter is not just because people are inside, which I didn't even realize. The moisture in the air in terms of humidity, the particles that allows COVID to drop to the ground more quickly. The virus in the summertime when there's more moisture in the air, but in the winter when it's drier, it allows to linger because it doesn't glom on to the water particles in the air, if that makes sense. So,
totally.
Anyway, New York's a hellhole.
Yeah, your cases are going up. We're gonna be talking a little bit about COVID soon, but
what am I bitching about? Right,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I'm bitching about Kyrsten Sinema. Why waste a funky hairdo and a unique sense of style on somebody who is likely a sociopath? I mean, I get that that's a whole part of her shtick. So, like, she saw, McCain, war hero, maverick that sometimes voted against Republican orthodoxy, but for the most part didn't. So how do I one-up that from my Democratic side? Oh, I'm going to vote against a living wage for people. And also I'm going to wear purple hair at some points and funky clothes and shirts with slogans that are that make me stand out in the sea of white men, but actually I'm just upholding everything that's horrible in our government. Can't stand her, and I actually cannot genuinely comprehend how little empathy she has for other people, and how it really is like a Disney villain kind of get up, because she's doing horrible things, but it's colorful and she thinks she can get away with it, and then she's going to get mavericked and labeled as such. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, she's I've never seen someone like who has yet to find out what their midlife crisis is going to be. You know, like, just pick one, babe, because you know, and I'm watching Schitt's Creek, so good, of course. I'm a little bit late to it, and she reminds me of Moira. Like,
my mom
she's
calls me and goes, it's the greatest show, it's the funniest show I maybe have ever seen ever. I was like, damn, okay, gotta get into it. Is Moira the mother?
The mother. Oh God, yeah. Kyrsten Sinema. You guys don't watch. Nato, do you watch?
No. I've watched enough that and my whole family watches it, so I hear a lot of Schitt's Creek chat at my house.
Well, Catherine O'Hara is just so over the top, and like, it is very Kyrsten Sinema. Although they're not the same person at all. Catherine O'Hara, queen, like goddess revelation. You know, Kyrsten Sinema, again, I don't know. Like, I'm 50 and I shop at Hot Topic for some reason. And look, we're not going to just talk about her looks. We're going to talk about her shitty policies. We'll get into that later. We will pick up this cinema thread very soon. But can I get into the week, y'all? Can we do this damn thing? All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
In the words of whoever that bachelorette was. Oh, Becca. Let's do the damn thing. No one else watches that stupid show. That was her tagline for a season.
Let's do the damn thing.
She said it 40 times. She seems like a nice person, but that was a terrible tagline.
I was showing my age by trying to say, let's do it like Tone Loc.
See, I don't get that at all.
Kids, once upon a time, there was a rapper called Tone Loc, and he had 2 songs.
And
I feel like I have one of those songs somewhere.
Yeah. And his tagline was, let's do it like Tone Loc?
No, just let's do it. Let's do it.
You mean Montel Jordan? This is how we do it.
No, come on. He had Funky Cold Medina and Wild Thing.
Okay.
Those
I just want to sing
songs.
that.
Yeah.
All right. This is the week where. All right. This was the week where multiple states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas dropped mask mandates because, as anyone familiar with skydiving knows, once you're at 500 feet, parachutes are mostly just an accessory, bro. You just fucking. Dr. Fauci says we are due for another spike. And God damn it, I feel like that guy's all over the place. You know? Which is it? Which is it? I don't understand line graphs. Texas Governor Greg Abbott also announced that businesses will be allowed to reopen at 100% capacity, meaning that all COVID variants are now allowed inside. And that that is very important for Houston because Houston has every variant of COVID. It's like shooting the moon of the pandemic. I'm pretty sure once it has all of them, I don't know. We all get docked. We get 100 points. I'm not sure how it works. It is, as Greg Abbott said, personal responsibility. I'd call it social Darwinism. And mind you, this is just weeks after a massive snowstorm wiped out the entire electrical grid and FEMA had to swoop in with all this money to help Texas. Like, I've never been to an Al-Anon meeting, but I know when someone's enabling someone else. Like, why are we continuing to enable, like, are we just enabling Texas to kill their own people right now? Thoughts and prayers, guys?
I'm pretty excited about the vaccine rollout. Now we have 3 vaccines in circulation in the United States: the Pfizer, the Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. The Pfizer and the Moderna are 1 shot, 2 shots. Johnson & Johnson is 1 shot. I think they're misnamed. It should be the Johnson and the Pfizer and Pfizer.
So bad.
I'm sorry. I'm starting early with dad jokes. And there's like what I'm in the thick of. Emma, you don't know this. I have 7th grade twins who are my children.
Oh man, no, they're not just twins that happened along. No.
Yeah. And so there's like, I'm in the thick throes of the debate about schools reopening. And like, people are very up in arms about it. Schools need to reopen immediately, whatever. And let me just give you a sense of, I'm not that concerned about it. Like, people are like, no, we really need schools to reopen because children are suffering. And it's like, yes, but also like, my kids are home all the time and I'm tired of them asking me where the thing is that's right in front of them. And so and just like my kids are doing fine. Like, they're like, one of my kids is non-binary. They're super into like learning about queer history and culture. So we decided that this was a good time for them to like, for us to do a deep dive as a family on the history of the AIDS crisis, Stonewall, bathhouses, hanky codes, and cruising. And at one point, my kid cut us off and were like, may I remind you that I'm 12? And in the entire discussion, the thing that they objected to the most was when we were telling them about the Stonewall Inn and the Stonewall riots that launched the modern gay rights movement. They were concerned that I was assuming that the mafia who owned the Stonewall Inn were homophobic. They said, aren't you stereotyping to assume gangsters in 1960 New York were homophobic? You don't know that. And look,
that's, by the way, I think one of the only businesses I donated to directly at the start of the pandemic, because the Stonewall Inn was like, I'm going to go out. It's like, that's my favorite gay bar. That's my favorite gay bar. I'm not letting that go. I mean, it's the gay bar in my view. Yeah. Continue.
Just make it bigger.
Yeah.
Just, it's like that's what my kids are getting. They don't have school, but they're getting, you can't get that. Don't learn about hanky codes in third period social studies. Do you know what I mean? You know what they're doing literally right now is my kid decided they wanted to read Shakespeare. So they read and now they are watching Much Ado About Nothing. So, they're fine.
That is honestly about what we did in 5th grade is like watch Kenneth Branagh in everything and be like, who finds this guy attractive? I know I'm 12, but this man is repulsive. I do want to say a little more news. President Biden, in terms of the school, said teachers will have gotten at least the first dose of a vaccine by the end of March, which puts every anti-vax PT mom in a bit of a pickle, right? Support a vaccine and get back to brunch and Pilates in the middle of the day, or keep believing my Facebook groups about Nato Green's bad Cuba take and staying home with my unremarkable children. I do want to say, speaking of raising kids and children in this time, in Idaho, hundreds of Antima, or anti-maskers, got their kids to burn masks outside of the state capitol. Take a look.
Yeah. Destroy them! Destroy them! Yeah. We don't want them in our roads anymore!
I love childlike cries of destroy them. It just really brings you back. It makes you want to have kids.
It brings you back specifically to the Salem witch trials, Emma.
Well, I am a vampire, so I did remember that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this a rumor on the internet that you're referring to? Or are you legit a vampire? Are you goth?
I mean, the furnace back there is to hide all of the garlic for when I kill myself.
Right.
Natch.
Right. I mean, I've been alive for like 700 years. It's time to, maybe eventually, once I'm done with this whole political commentary thing. I digress.
I like that. I really love watching mass child hysteria back. I feel like it was time. The plagues are back. It's time to have Salem witch trials back. Mass child hysteria. Like, my daddy says you're the devil, Anthony Fauci, and he has truck nuts. Like that energy of disbelief and, bad parenting.
It's been a while since there's been a new Harry Potter book. Nothing for kids to freak out about.
My mother's brand of kind of liberal, like back when I was a kid, those movies were coming out. My best friend came from a really Catholic family who she wasn't allowed to read any of the books or see the movies. And so my mom took her to the movies with me, took her to see a Harry Potter movie and said, don't tell your parents, which probably not the right move. but kind of love that for her, to be honest with you. That was a big deal. The Pope said that it was witchcraft. I remember.
And now that JK is,
Vividly.
JK Rowling is, got anti-trans feelings and beliefs, is she like now a darling of the right again? Like, where do they stand? You know what I mean?
don't
Like,
really
where do the
know.
Christian conservatives go?
She's because she's more just like a self-righteous white feminist than anything, right? So
Right.
that's also not for the Christian right.
That's true. That's the turf. The turf.
I don't even know what TERF stands for. I forget, but it definitely is self-righteous white feminist, right? That's what it encapsulates.
I knew for a second, but that's exactly what it is. I knew and then I forgot. Hey, sound off in the comments if you know what TERF stands for.
Hang on, ladies. Let me explain it to you.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Never mind.
Trans-exclusionary. That's right.
I'm not going to
Trans-exclusionary.
mansplain.
Trans-exclusionary
TERF.
radical feminist. Thank you.
Okay.
And my problem with TERF is it's not radical to be anti-trans. So like they're like, get rid of the radical. It should be like trans-exclusionary reformist feminists or something like that. But thank you for that. Psalm 1983 on Twitch. That's right. We on Twitch. Okay. Moving on to our next topic. This is a bigger one. It encompasses a lot of things that have been going on in the last couple of weeks, but I feel like we need to talk about it. But this was very much the week where we realized that the American empire is like super hard to quit cold turkey, just harder than vaping. There's been a lot of mixed messages from the Biden administration when it comes to foreign policy, leaving us to wonder whether the next 4 years will be status quo G.I. Joe. Signs that point to yes, it will be status quo, not enacting any consequences on the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, even though we know that he personally ordered the killing and dismemberment of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Biden apparently had a whole phone call with NBS and Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, and like it didn't come up, or he didn't talk about it.
Come on, man! Why'd you do that thing?
Yeah,
with Khashoggi.
Yeah, it's just so that's just malarkey right there. That is malarkey. But I feel like it was
That ain't
more
cool, man.
It was a little bit of like probably went down like the Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David stares down someone who he's suspicious of. Just for a reminder, it's like this. Did you do it? Did you really do it? You sure you didn't do it? Like, he gave him a stern staring at, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The Woke-Ida Brigade is coming to cancel dismembering now. Come on, guys. Friends have to respect each other's differences. And Francesca, you're a vegetarian. I'm not. We agree to disagree. You want to dismember journalists, and we just let the CIA hound them until they commit suicide. R.I.P. Gary Webb. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. I'm shocked that the right wing hasn't tried to put the murder of Jamal Khashoggi under the umbrella of free speech, because that's everything these days. That's the right for Josh Hawley to get his book published by a primary publisher.
Right.
That's the right for right-wingers not to be criticized. And maybe it was always the right to murder, too. It's a very expansive right, that First Amendment. That's why it's first. But,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, just quickly.
Yeah.
That. So the Trump administration had that intel that whole time about MBS murdering Jamal Khashoggi. We all knew this. The media was up in arms and immensely critical of Trump, rightly so, for not acting on that and, in fact, embracing MBS and the Saudi Arabian government to a degree that we haven't really seen, based on, or not that we haven't seen, but even more brazenly so, based on also business relationships between the Trump administration and Saudi Arabia.
To the podcast listeners, if you don't know, MBS stands for Irritable Bowel Syndrome.
Yes, obviously. And then also Mohammed bin Salman, people forget. So
Potato.
So now this information's brought to light, and the Biden administration thinks, oh, as if we release this report to the media, that's going to take the heat off of us for us to do anything at all.
Right.
And it kind of worked. And so that was for me the first real, okay, this is when the Trump people, they're unhinged in so many ways, but why the kernel of truth that starts every conspiracy theory is that the media hates Trump and they're biased against him. They are giving Biden a free pass on this to a large degree. And I know Dana Bash has talked to Jen Psaki about this, but they were so outraged, rightly so, about the allowance of this murder and the enabling by the Trump administration. And we've not seen a proportionate response from the media on Biden basically taking the same substantive action by not holding them accountable in any way. Or
Absolutely.
him accountable. It's like they're going to sanction sections of Saudi Arabia, but not sanction the murderer personally. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're stopping some arms trades. They're stopping, I think, obviously the working with Saudi Arabia in Yemen when it comes to that awful war, which is good. These are steps in the right direction. But absolutely, it's like, okay, you just verified shit we already. You could easily just not do that. Like, transparency is not always better. Look. Sometimes it's not always better, especially if you're going to sit on it and not do anything concrete about it.
Well, and also this war on Yemen thing. They're stopping selling arms specifically for the usage of genocide in the war on Yemen, basically, and in that war. But they're still allowing arms sales for the defense of Saudi Arabia's border. Where is that border that they're talking about the defense of with Yemen? So we are still funding the war in Yemen, and the language is very precise in that way. So in terms of foreign policy, I would just say this off the bat: Biden's already behaving like a moderate Republican, as we expected.
But wait, there's more. This was also from this week. Secretary of State Ned Price said Palestinians didn't qualify as a sovereign state and therefore weren't able to bring complaints before the International Criminal Court, and then was asked by a reporter very insistently, well, where should they go if they're not allowed to go to the International Criminal Court when they have a legitimate grievance? Listen.
Where should the Palestinians go to get accountability for what they claim to be problems? To Israeli courts? Where do they go?
Matt, look, we, of course, the United States is always going to stand up for human rights. We're always going to stand up.
Where do they go? Where do they go?
Matt, that is why I think that is why you have heard us continue to endorse and to call for a two-state solution to this long-running conflict. A two-state solution because it protects Israel's identity as a Jewish and democratic state, but also because it will give the Palestinians a viable state of their own and fulfill their legitimate aspirations for dignity and self-determination.
Where do they go?
I love that. Do you know the reporter asking that question?
I think he's like AP or Reuters, not Reuters, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not from a like small outlet. He's not from like a BuzzFeed or I don't know, and places where I get my news on like Palestine, which is like electronic intifada.
Not an Al Jazeera reporter.
Not an Al Jazeera reporter. Like, he's just legitimately asking, because that's how much the fucking discussion on Israel-Palestine has changed. Warranted in the wake of so much evidence that Israel is a bad faith actor, of course, occupying Palestinian land, but like so funny. And God, have we ever seen a man with a more Ned face than that Ned? That's unrelated.
It's a real Ned.
But it's a real Ned.
Yeah.
Solid Ned.
By the way, the United Nations recognizes Palestine as an independent state. So, like, that's the whole point there. You can only talk over the reporter asking that question because there is no legitimate basis for the answer. It's just the way the United States has to posture itself. And what right-wing presidents like Trump understand is that you can continue to push the envelope, and whatever Democrat gets into office, they're not going to change anything, which is why the Biden administration isn't going to remove the embassy from Jerusalem, because as long as you just continue to move the goalposts, the Democrats are just going to sit on the 50-yard line and not do anything, not try to score, not try to change anything. That's my sports metaphor for the
Could you translate that into a non-sports metaphor for me and Francesca, please?
No.
Like, is there a cooking metaphor that would
50's
be?
in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
right.
putting oil in the pan, but not turning on the burner.
In what way is that like or not like making a burrito?
I would never have endeavored to make a burrito because that's too much wrapping. I like to stick to dishes with a meat, a starch, and a veggie. Makes me feel a lot safer, you know,
Agreed.
in this
Plated.
scary world. Obviously.
Plated top to bottom, not wrapped up. You guys, we got to burn through this. We were going to talk about Venezuela, but
I'm sorry.
afraid.
I'll shush my mouth for a second.
Should we skip Venezuela and talk about the stimulus? I feel like we need to do that because we only have half an hour left. And man, but I had some great Venezuela jokes. I just want to say I had a really good Venezuela joke. But another time, NATO wants to talk about Guaido.
That's fine.
Yes, thank you, Becca. The producer says the reporter was Matt Lee, or at least Israel on Twitch said the reporter was Matt Lee from AP. See, I knew it. Anywho,
is that your boyfriend, Matt Lee?
No, did I say Matt Lee? Matt Lee, not Matt Lee. The one thing I will say about foreign policy, is that there's some small signs, and maybe Emma, you're right that it's more moderate Republican stuff, like maybe McCain or Romney-esque, but Biden's going to finally review the U.S. drone strike policy. Like he's actually going to do a serious review of that Obama didn't do. Trump only ramped up the drones. And he's going to revisit the authorization for use of military force, which was enacted after 9/11, but basically gives the executive branch like way too much power or unilateral power in deciding when we go to war, when we bomb someone. That's on the heels of the U.S. strikes on Syria, Biden striking Syria recently, or Iranian-backed forces in Syria. Which he's also trying to negotiate the Iran nuclear deal, which is just like, I just feel like this is like, you can't just nag your way into a deal again. You know, you can't use pickup artist tactics to solve international conflict. Well, I mean, I might be wrong on that though.
There's so much though that Biden does by saying, I'm going to hire a committee to look into this and then hope the news cycle goes away. He's doing this right now with student debt. I'm going to hire some sort of, or I'm going to enlist the help of this committee, and the experts will determine whether or not, when we know he has the authority to cancel as much student debt as he wants to with the stroke of a pen. But with the AUMF, I hope that he follows through in this instance, because soldiers like Barbara Lee, not actual soldiers, but congressional ones, metaphorically, have been on the line since 2001 to repeal the AUMF, and this has allowed for the executive branch to have unlimited discretion when it comes to our endless wars. So let's hope, if he actually leads the Democratic Party in the House and the Senate to repeal the AUMF, that could have a lasting impact, especially if presidents to come are Republicans. Then you can't trust them in many ways. That's how Democrats would think of it. That's the logic.
Jet fuel can't melt Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee was an inside job.
I would hope she was an inside job. Then our government would be, if the deep state wanted Barbara Lee in power, we would be actually a much healthier country than I think we are.
Honestly, dude. All right, guys, we got to move on to the biggest story of the week, which is our sitch. We were going to talk about squids and Venezuela, which again, tomato.
Not squids. We were going to talk about cuttlefish.
First of all, they shouldn't be called fish. They're actually squids or octopuses. It's wrong to call a cuttlefish a fish. It's a squid. Fight me. But really quickly, before we talk about the stimulus, thank you to Electric Blue Omelet Dragon, Joanna Davis, and Kimberly McNaught, Pete from Oakland, Parker and Brent Andrews for your super chats. You're so sweet. Andrew Martin on YouTube, I'm bitching about the end of representative government everywhere. That's a good reason. Tell me what to put. Greg Abbott is obviously trying to distract from his failures during the snowstorm. Absolutely. And Luna Diana, right-wing view with left-wing aesthetic is what is referring to Kyrsten Sinema. Right-wing view with left-wing aesthetic. Exactly. If I wear a crazy skirt, it means I'm liberal. Oh, man. Guys, the biggest news is that this weekend, the Senate passed a stimulus bill. And this is huge. And I'm just going to quickly we'll take it in chunks, but specifically what it did and how it happened and what got left out. It includes a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff that could be better, but basically $1,400 direct payments for anyone making under 75 grand a year, plus $1,400 for each of those people's kids or dependents. Not the 600 like under Trump, 1,400. Then there's an additional child tax credit. Americans will get $300 per child for those under age 5 and $250 for kids between 6 and 17 for an entire year. There's an extended unemployment benefits, $45 billion in rental, utility, and mortgage assistance, $30 billion for transit agencies, billions for small businesses and live venues. Hey, stand-up comedy.
By the way, I think that partly was Chuck Schumer who really fought for that kind of
for
stimulus.
Live venues?
Mm-hmm. For theaters. That was a part of, but I mean, look, he's represents New York. That's a huge part of New York.
That's
so don't give him immense credit. But by the way, just, 2021 Chuck Schumer, not been too bad. The pushing of Biden on student debt, a little bit of credit for him, for sure.
A little bit of credit when you've got AOC nipping at his heels.
Together. And he kept the caucus together for exactly. Well, she should wait until the day before the filing deadline to say, I'm not going to do it. Just to push him as far left as you can the day before the deadline.
Absolutely. Obviously, I was going to play a side of Bernie saying, this is one of the most historic pieces of legislation for working people. It is huge. I mean, there's estimates that it would reduce, especially because of those child tax credits, reduce child poverty by half and even more so in the Black community. So it's big. Yes, there was bad things, concessions. $15 minimum wage got left out despite Bernie's attempts. $400 of extended unemployment benefits turned to $300 and is shortened to just the beginning of September. And then, of course, the threshold or the bar you have to meet for getting a check is now $75,000. Under Trump, it was $100,000. They were going to do 80. But basically, they did it. It's not bad. Overall thoughts, Emma, on this historic legislation, the fact that there's a T after 1.9.
Yeah, so I have a lot of complicated thoughts that, I think there's a cottage industry on the left right now where we're on the left, Jimmy Dore, where you can just express outrage about everything and nothing's sufficient. And this isn't
How dare you?
I'm sorry for bringing him up on the show. Jimmy Dore. I
Debate me.
think you're a hack and bad for the world. Anyway, so there's a cottage industry on the left where as long as you express enough vitriolic emotion about what the Democratic Party is doing, okay, you'll always have an audience because nothing will be sufficient. But a lot of reporters, like Zach Carter, for example, is a great reporter from HuffPost. He made this point on Twitter the other day. Look at the Democratic Party 4 years ago with what they're proposing now. Okay, fine, that's too short of a timeline. Look at the Democratic Party 12 years ago with what's happening right now, with what was happening under the first term of Obama, when he had a lot more Democrats at his disposal in the Senate to actually make legislation happen and make things more progressive. And they were terrified of that T, as you said, Francesca, the T number, the $1 trillion number. Now, okay, they didn't want to go over 2 trillion. Basically, that seemed to be kind of Biden's threshold and the Democratic orthodoxy. But still, this was a really good bill. And yeah, he marketed the checks in this really sleazy, weaselly way that I think could bite Democrats in the long run. But at the same time, 87% of families, something like that, of kids who have 2 kids and 2 parents are going to be getting over $5,000.
Yep.
In the mail. Whoa.
Yep.
$1,400 checks going out to millions and millions of Americans, was the numbers over 250 million Americans, something like that.
Yeah.
Or over 200 million Americans. Again, it's like 10 p.m. for me, so I'm getting my numbers fuzzy. And
yeah, no, it is around that. Yeah.
Red wine. Obviously. So something around that. That's really significant. And the extension of unemployment through August, September is key as well. So this is a good to very good bill in terms of what we're measuring it up against with the Democratic Party. Now,
we've been so focused on, sorry, just quickly, we've been so focused on what it's not including that we haven't really talked honestly about what it is including.
And I can fall into that trap too. And what Sam does really well for me on the show is he just ran through it the other day and highlighted all of the great things that it does. And so there is a key difference in what party is running this country right now, even if the Democratic Party is as weak and feckless as it is and is, completely lacking in gumption and everything that we care about. There's a substantive difference, especially when you look at what the moderate Republicans like Susan Collins were proposing on the other side. There's a reason that there were 0 Republican votes on this bill. 0 in the House and in the Senate was because they were never going to get anything close to this. And the good thing politically is that Democrats like Biden, even though he's way more conservative than a lot of the base and a lot of the current Democratic electorate, or I should say elected officials, he learned the lesson that, okay, even if I think this is too much from a number standpoint, artificially, our electoral butts are on the line if we don't pass something big, because the recovery under Obama was way too slow because they listened to the wrong people. And so I'm glad that they at least learned one lesson from losing.
Stop inheriting these fucking and like the dumpster fires that Bush and Trump have left you and going halfway on that shit. You will get slaughtered later. You can't go halfway. They're leaving you debts. They're leaving you wars. They're leaving you bullshit. Yes, you're full of bullshit too, but don't underestimate what you've been left with. And you're going to be stuck holding the bill for all this. So you're absolutely right. To have something this bold is really important. NATO.
The other highlights of the bill to me, $350 billion for cities and states, $170 billion for schools, and $100 billion for public health. So for me, Emma, when I'm not mouthing off on here, I'm also a union organizer, and I work with a public sector union that mostly represents local government workers. And this is going to change. This legislation will change my members' lives this week, literally. Like, in public transit agencies where, ridership is down because of COVID, or public school districts that are trying to figure out how to upgrade their ventilation from like 1940s, asbestos filtration systems to be able to reopen safely. Like, this is an immediate lifeline. It means stopping layoffs. It means stopping pay cuts for low-wage workers of color in the public sector, like this week. So, I just feel like I totally agree with you. There's a strain among progressives and people on the left. Like, this is a classic Nato Green joke. We would rather protest losing than win. People who, were more committed to Joe Biden and the Democrats validating their priors that Democrats are sellouts, than seeing that the details of this bill it's not because, Joe Biden suddenly became a virtuous person. It's because of the organizing that people have done in the last 4 years to push the Democratic Party and to change the politics of the country. And
because of what one man did too, Bernie Sanders. I mean, I said this in his 2016 run and in his 2020 run when he didn't eventually win. And I didn't mean to cut you off, NATO, but just to make this point,
I'm a white guy. I don't mind being interrupted.
Yeah, obviously. Well, I mean,
I'll bounce back.
you actually have to take it because
it's reparations.
Yeah, right. So, Bernie Sanders.
I'm not going to forget my train of thought. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I almost did. Bernie Sanders shifted the Overton window in such a way, and the organizers that work with him, obviously. But this is what people don't get about campaigns too, is that what's so important about campaigns and what they do is that they create an infrastructure and they move people and move the conversation in a different way, which is why Amy McGrath's run in Kentucky was such an outrage. If you had Charles Booker, you could have had a situation like
Yes.
what happened with Stacey Abrams in Georgia, where she didn't
Yes.
win, which was, you know, it was like she was probably cheated out of it. But what she set up there was, oh, wait, we can win in this state. A lot of
Yeah.
people thought that. And then the organizing infrastructure, and then the volunteers and the people, and everything's in place. And so it works
And it
on an
goes a little
ideological level and an electoral level as well.
Yeah, and it goes a little bit to what we were talking about in terms of Sinema, who, if y'all didn't know, I'm sure everyone who listens to the podcast and watches this knows that she was one of the 8 senators, Democratic senators, to vote down an amendment to add $15 minimum wage raise to the bill. And she sort of curtsied when she did it. But, you know, people are rightfully talking about senators that were hugely supported by the DCCC as like, oh, Kyrsten Sinema is going to be great. This is a huge turn. And, you know, you're talking about Amy McGrath and picking the wrong horse, like Kyrsten Sinema, like turning on, I don't know who the hell she was elected to be, but she's not turning out that way. And, yeah, so I mean, I think that it goes to that too. And I guess my question is, there was a man who stalled these poor septuagenarian senators late into the evening, which is Joe Manchin, right? Manchin basically held up negotiations for hours because he wanted to lower the amount of money and the extension of unemployment benefits. There's a question of, well, can't progressives do that? Why can't progressives hold everything up in the same way? You know, why can't a Warren or a Sanders hold everything up in the same way that Manchin does? What are your thoughts on that line of thinking, Emma?
Well, the issue is that Warren and Sanders aren't going to say, okay, I'm changing parties. I mean, that's a real fear for Sinema and I was about to say Lieberman and Manchin. I'm about to bring up Lieberman, though, because there is a real silver lining about Joe Manchin. And again, I keep mentioning Sam because I talk to him 3 hours a day. Right. He's a zaddy, as they say. But no, he's not. I'm joking.
Who, Sam or Manchin?
Manchin. Jesus, no.
Oh.
I thought we were talking about Manchin there. Anyway, I digress. The silver lining about Joe Manchin is that he's not as smart as Joe Lieberman, who was the centrist that held everything up for the Democrats during the Obama era, the first, right. During the healthcare fight, right? So he's not as smart as him, let's be real. He's not as good at politics and not as Machiavellian as Joe Lieberman was. But the key is that Manchin is not beholden to the very well-financed industries that are so terrified that Lieberman was. So Manchin, yeah, he's beholden to coal, but it's more of a personal branding exercise for him. It's more of, I'm going to buck this party orthodoxy and I'm going to buck this party orthodoxy. I'm like, it's kind of the Maverick thing, but it's a West Virginia version of it. And that's a lot more malleable than what Lieberman was operating in, which is, okay, I'm going to be a firewall for Wall Street and for the insurance industry in the healthcare debate. So then there was no negotiating with that guy. It was done. And he got a lot of Democratic senators to whip along with him, right? Joe Manchin, what you can do is, all right, we'll throw Neera Tanden out there as chum. You can vote against her and kill her nomination, and then go back to your constituents and say, oh, look at me, I voted against this Biden nominee, right? So it's a lot easier to work with a guy
Killing
like
the
that.
Neera Tanden nom is a big relief for people with black lung.
Yeah. Well, totally agree. It's so dumb. And Manchin's, but like, this is his very specific brand that he wants to protect. And it's not ideological. It's just about, I'm a Democrat that can get elected in West Virginia. And the reason is because I stand up to the Democrats and I stand up to the Republicans. And it's very, very easy to manipulate that in whatever way is convenient for the current moment. That doesn't hurt him long term.
And the thing of it's like, what frustrates me sometimes about the left is there's some amount of like Groundhog's Day of indignation. Like, it's like, we didn't just discover this week that Joe Manchin was an asshole and was going to be a problem. Like, he's been a problem for quite some time. And like, there was a progressive challenger in the last primary, and she lost. Because she didn't have enough power and a big enough base, and this, whatever. Like, it's not fair. It sucks. It's disappointing. But the lesson should be like, not how do we hope that Joe Manchin becomes a virtuous person that he's not going to be, but how do we build the power to be able to win elections in West Virginia and Arizona and
or
Montana.
make him moot in my view, because he's not the right person to primary. I'll like go out on a limb here, because a Democrat winning there is really hard, and he's like weirdly captured this kind of one niche area. The ones you got to primary are like Mark Warner. Like Mark Warner behind the scenes.
I love how you whispered that. Is he listening to the Bituation Room on Twitch?
He is scary because he's a Lieberman-esque figure in that he's
a Democrat. He's a Republican.
No, he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat from Virginia, and he is beholden to the insurance industry, to all of these moneyed interests. I believe he might be one of the Democrats that gets Chamber of Commerce donations, but I may not be sure.
I don't have him on the list as voting against the $15 minimum wage.
Ah, that's true. Okay, maybe
Tom Carper, Chris Coons, Maggie Hassan.
Okay, but then this brings me back to my point. This brings me back to my biggest point, which I made on the show. It's not a popular point. Bernie's idea was not smart. Stripping the $15 minimum wage out of the bill and then making it voting on it as an amendment. He knew it wasn't going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
This was all about, shaming people.
He forced the vote.
Right. Well, yes. This is why both of those ideas are stupid.
Yes.
He stripped it out. The only two that were really threatening to tank the stimulus package because the minimum wage was included were Sinema and Manchin. I guarantee you they still would have voted for it if the $15 minimum wage was in. How do I know that? Because they both were saying they were against stimulus checks until they weren't, until Kamala Harris went on TV and pressured them, and then they acquiesced, and then they voted for it. I do believe if the White House wanted to make it happen, they would have made it happen. All Bernie did was strip it out of the stimulus package and then allowed the two senators from Biden's home state, among other people, like Tester and Maggie Hassan and all the other hateful eight that voted for this, right? To provide cover for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the White House to say, look at this threshold, this 8-vote threshold. We were never going to be able to surmount this. Right. We were never going to be able to go over this in the stimulus package. When that was artificial, you go back and you look at these other senators, they all support a $15 minimum wage outside of Sinema and Manchin. Right. So this made it look like a Herculean task for Biden that he couldn't possibly overcome. And so my point is that I understand why Bernie is such a wonderful person and advocate for this issue, but it really gave the White House cover when the real villains in this story is number one, Joe Biden and the White House. And then of course, two, Sinema and Manchin. That's where all of this effort should be directed towards, because
I don't think some of these senators voted against it to kind of like pad up the resistance to
100%.
The amendment.
I very much believe that, and I think that the evidence is that the Carper and Coons, the two senators from Delaware, who want to be Joe Biden and want to suck up to Joe Biden, voted against it.
Even though they've come out in favor of a $15 minimum wage.
They've wanted to raise the wage before, but like this makes it seem like there were way more senators who were going to sink the stimulus package than there actually were, and makes it seem like, oh, we couldn't do this in time, when in my view, it was very doable if you had a stronger presence in the White House.
Well, so I saw something where Sinema was saying like that she still supports the $15 an hour minimum wage, but thinks it should be a standalone bill and not sort of shoehorned into this other thing through reconciliation. But then her and Manchin are also not supporting like ending the filibuster. So it's like, I think that they want, I wonder like if they really want to, it's if someone moved a standalone $15 an hour minimum wage, which is hugely popular and a huge economic benefit, if they would like support ending the filibuster or something to overcome that, or if they just want to be able to say, well, we voted for it, but we couldn't overcome the filibuster, so there it is. And
I mean, I think that's Sinema 100%. That's her posturing. But again, like it's you're looking at it, Nato, from a logical, okay, what do you support perspective. Again, these people, that's like the whole thing, right? It's a personal branding exercise.
I'm sorry
for
for the podcast listeners. Emma just acted out the Sinema sassy thumbs down maneuver.
Yes, I did. You might have to double watch on YouTube or on Twitch just to fully.
When I first saw that
experience
video, I assumed that it was a video of something else, that like a sketch from like that movie Election with Reese Witherspoon or something.
Yeah.
Just that someone had repurposed for this. Like I could not believe that it was actually a senator behaving that way. And then
there's something wrong with her.
No, I'm saying.
And so of course,
take a midlife crisis, try crochet.
Naturally, I went down a Sinema rabbit hole, sadly. And, she got her start in politics on the Nader campaign in 2000, which makes her the argument against your point, Emma, about the transformative power of campaigns. Because that didn't work. She just she's just a fucking opportunist.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, she was a Green Party person. That says all you need to know about the Green Party, in my view. But
damn, Emma coming on, burning down the Green Party and Jimmy Dore in one sitting.
Emma's got to come on more often.
I met Jill Stein many a time. She seems like a lovely person and would be a wonderful college professor.
Yeah, she qualified to be commander-in-chief of the kale stand at the farmer's market.
She would be a great college professor. Right. I mean, again, it's like. Sorry, go on, Francesca. I don't mean to take over your show.
Oh no, that's totally fine. I mean, it is interesting because there's a great article in The Intercept about Sinema and how essentially like Washington corrupts, and she's been very much corrupted, and also she's got that same BS maverick, like, I don't know what I stand for, but I want. There are literal, like, we think Twitter trolls are contrarian and people like we don't like on Twitter. Imagine the contrarian motherfuckers in Congress. Like, who are you doing this for? Like, clearly no one.
Well, I mean, and they get elected just to feed their ego trips. So it's probably 400 times worse.
Can I read a Sinema quote real quick?
Yeah.
So
please.
I was reading her Wikipedia page. There's a quote. In 2006, Sinema was asked about the new feminism and responded, quote, "These women who act like staying at home, leeching off their husbands or boyfriends and just cashing the checks is some sort of feminism because they're choosing to live that life. That's bullshit. I mean, what the fuck are we really talking about here?" And
sounds like she has a lot of empathy, by the way. Feminism is about choosing what you want to do with your life as opposed to, projecting onto other people.
And what the fuck are we talking about here, you guys? Is really the question I want to ask. in the annals of great political oration, right up there with "Ask not what your country could do for you," and 7 years ago.
She's saying feminists want to stay home and leech off their husbands. Is that what it was?
Because they chose to do that with their life. And what the fuck are we really talking about here?
Only, oh my God, I would have fucking married rich so many times. I like at least 4 times by now, at least. Emma Vigeland, always so good to first time have you on the show, and so good to talk to you. You're the best. Thank you for breaking this down for us. Yes, I want to talk so much more about this, but we have one final mini segment. Will you stay on to just give your very quick opinion about what Republicans are going to get triggered over next?
Sure. Yeah. I probably got to hop off quite soon, but I'm down for a few minutes.
It's your bedtime, isn't it?
Well, yes, I am on East Coast time, and I'm already feeling myself fading. I can, like, when my speech starts to get my lisp comes out as it's happening right now. Okay, keep going. I'm going to stop talking.
Oh, no, it's okay. Look, why don't, here, I think you need a little interstitial. This will wake you right up. We're looking at the next front in the culture war.
Drop the...
Emma, first they came for Mr. Potato Head, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a potato head. Next they came for Dr. Seuss and I didn't speak up because I thought the Lorax was a socialist. And now, what are they going to come for? What are they going to come for next? What's the right's newest front in getting triggered by like TV shows from the 50s? Any thoughts?
Okay. I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
Nato, why don't you go? Emma, no. What do you think?
I'll show you how to play the game.
What's going to happen? Let's play this game.
The next front of the culture war is pour over coffee. The right wing is going to say, oh, you woke libtards want to just pour over and drink your artisanal, small batch, fair trade coffee, black, take the white creamy parts out of the coffee. It's white genocide of coffee. We need to go back to venti lattes.
Yeah, I mean the next culture war is snow sports, skiing. It's way too white. The flakes on the ground, the flakes in the air, very white. Time to just rake your skis over dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Stop treading on the white man or white snow.
Right.
Dirt skiing.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like dirt biking.
Yeah, that was the best I could do on the fly right there.
Dude, I like that.
Look, Nato's a comedian, and you're, a comedian. I think you're hilarious as hell. So look, I'm outmatched.
I do some comedy. No, you don't have to be funny. This because first of all, we realize we're living inside of their joke, right? Like none of this is serious, and everything is just played for a joke. That is what the Dr. Seuss discussion and the Mr. Potato Head discussion of. I'm gonna say, look. So apparently Barbie came out as bi pretty recently, and she's got a girlfriend who, number one, looks like me, not to brag. We fuck. But they're going to come after Ken. That's what I think. I think they're going to defend Ken. Whatever happened to Ken, he's like the third wheel and gets left out. Ken's going to be like the new Proud Boys alpha male archetype, like, whatever. What I don't even know her name. Like Barbie's girlfriend will not replace us or whatever. Francesca will not replace us.
Yes. Well, I mean, you should volunteer your namesake for that very purpose.
I should. I'd be like, listen, y'all, we all know this is me.
Yeah.
Stop it. I should sue. I should straight sue.
You should sue. You could probably get some money out of that. We all know that leftist media folk need money.
So are we saying that it's that they're coming out with Katie Hill revenge porn Barbie? Is that the new line?
That would be very appropriate. Yes.
Yeah.
No, they're going to defend Ken. There's going to be like another thing. So Ken skiing over dirt and pour over coffee. I love it. I think we'll see if we're right, you guys. Some people in the comments, Mr. Rogers, WandaVision, Bluto from Popeye, for sure.
Yeah.
Bluto, the embodiment of toxic masculinity, obviously. Mr. Rogers, a gentrifier.
Yeah.
WandaVision, obviously a story about how
people have vision.
How it's okay to enslave people if you're a white lady who's sad.
I don't watch that show, and thanks for the spoiler alert. Sure.
Yeah.
White people who are sad. You just said you liked Mad Men before we started.
Well, I am a sad white person, so I get to pick how my sadness is portrayed.
Then you will see yourself in WandaVision if you're a sad white lady.
No, that is next up. That's next up for me. After I finish watching Mad Men for the second time.
Emma Vigeland, so good to see you. Thank you for being here, everybody. Follow Emma on Twitter at Emma Vigeland, I believe, and watch her every single day on the Majority Report. She crushes it. So good. Has been just like easing into that role like an old glove.
Great to meet you. Tell Sam I'll see him at the Jew meeting.
Oh, I will. Obviously hosted by George Soros. Thank you so much, Nato and Francesca. Love always chatting with you. You're the best. Appreciate it.
Oh my God. Likewise. Be very well. Get some good rest. Nato Green, here we are. I was going to suggest that after we read some comments, we do an extra, 20, 15 on the old Patreon. Guys, I'm going to do this to you right now. So we had two stories that we didn't get to, which were about Venezuela and then also about cuttlefish. And if you want, I'm going to restart a stream in a little bit, available to patrons, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Give $1, man, and join us. And I think I'll be able to do that. I think I'll figure out the technology to do that for like 20 minutes. But just a couple comments. Brodyman Hennessy. Oh no, your comment is for Emma, but Emma, my wife, and I love your work, and you've turned us into daily MR listeners. And Francesca, don't worry, we still catch DR on Mondays, just not live. Aw, thank you so much, Brodyman. Thanks for the super chat. Kimberly McNaught, any chance NATO could come to Australia to help organize our unemployed workers union?
Yes. I'm available for remote consults.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, one of the weird things about being visible as a comedian/union organizer on comedy podcasts is that I get people in my DMs asking organizing advice, like,
really?
Hey, I'm on I'm getting evicted in Washington D.C. What do I do? Hey, I'm a non-union hotel worker. What do I do? Hey, I got an interesting question from someone on a scientific expeditionary vessel somewhere who wanted to organize a nautical union. And often I can help and have suggestions.
Sorry. Whoa.
And can be like, oh, here's an article.
Like life aquatic type shit? Was it?
Yeah. Those people need a union. Sure. So feel free to DM me your organizing questions, and I will endeavor to answer them or steer you to the necessary resources.
I like this as a segment, like organizing question. Like if you come on, we can do like a moment where you answer an organizing question. Yeah. Dear NATO, how do you organize a blah, blah, blah? And then... let's do that, dude. I'm feeling that. Okay.
We sort of did a bit of that in our episode with Jane McAlevey.
That's right. We did. That's a live episode you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. Nato Green, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in like 5 minutes, and we'll do 15 more minutes, talk about Venezuela. Guys, get over to patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. There'll be a link there, I think, and I'll figure out how to do it. And thank you, Probot Video, for your super chat. Hi, Ramona, you say to my cats, whose name is Ramona, my one cat. You guys, thanks so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you can't become a patron, if you don't have the funds, I understand. If you've got kids, you got no excuse, because you just got a lot richer with this stimulus. So give me some of the stimulus. And thank you so much to what I was gonna say was, you can rate the podcast, give it 5 stars, and that's as good as money. So thanks so much for those reviews, and thanks so much to Becca Roofer, our producer, to Kelly Carey, Dorsey Shaw, and Ellie Hoffman, newest member of TBR on the other side of Twitter over there. And remember, guys, don't just bitch about it, be about it. Fight the patriarchy. Fuck the power. No, fight the power. Fuck the patriarchy, and fuck this guy.
And I will eat them here and there. Say, I'll eat them anywhere. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam I am. Enjoy your day.
You've ruined it, Kevin McCarthy. Why the fuck are you reading Dr. Seuss, you stupid ape in a suit? That's right. I said it. All right, you guys, be very well. And for patrons, we'll see you in a little bit. Thanks so much. Bye.